Deja, and welcome back to the Fancy YouTube channel. Today on today's podcast, we are going to be talking about Black History Month. I'm going to hand it over to Takoria for further introduction.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to our YouTube channel and our podcast channel. We're so excited to have you back here. Today, we have two of our Fancy Academy leadership girls and then two of the mentors. So I think this is going to be a really nice conversation about the meaning of Black History Month, where it comes from, and how we all feel about it. So, Trinity.
Hi, my name is Trinity, and I'm a part of the 2021 Fancy Ambassador Program along with the Leadership Program.
And next, we have Chanel.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chanel, and I'm a mentor in the Fancy Leadership Academy.
Great. So just, to hop right into the conversation, whoever wants to answer, go on ahead. With February coming to an end, how did you guys think this year's Black History Month went?
I think it was pretty different, obviously, because we're virtual. Everything is virtual. I think that we weren't able to celebrate it. Probably people were probably able to celebrate it within their families, but not like we weren't able to have events or stuff like that to where people could go out and actually actively celebrate Black History Month. So I would just say different. That's how it was for me, at least.
I would have to touch on what Chanel said. For sure, it was very different, especially with it being, like she said, with COVID and everything that's happened. But I will admit, I don't know if some of you have been to the Soul Swap meet, but I think that was like a really good celebration of Black History Month, especially during that whole Black History Month week. It was really nice.
Mhm.
I agree with Trinity as well about the Soul Swap meet. I think it was a cool thing to have, especially during Black History Month, all of those Black owned local businesses being able to support them. It was just, nice.
Yeah, and Chanel, kind of what you said that we weren't able to, go out and celebrate. I feel like I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I know in a lot of stores there's been a lot more representation. Like in Walmart, I went, they had like a little essence box and it had Shea Moisture, it had, just a whole bunch of cute stuff. And it was another one is Target. Target has a whole Black History Month section, and I think that that was a good gesture for a lot of retail stores, since we're not allowed to have, big celebrations and other things of that sort. I think that there's been a lot of improvement in what we're seeing in stores. And I think that's, influencing what other people think. Because I know I've seen a lot of people that weren't Black in the Black history section, learning about something new. So I think that's pretty cool.
Especially when it comes down to like our own products. Like we have our own aisle now. So it's pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more inclusion going on. Of course, something that should have been going on, but just see it is pretty cool. Mhm.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been a lot more inclusion this year. I've seen, especially on social media, I've seen a lot of different posts from like companies, and like if you subscribe to emails from companies, they're like, oh, our Black History Month sale, or here's some information on Black History Month, here's more information about sort of just what it, and like especially Black owned businesses. I know on Etsy, they have, if you go to their website, it's like their first page, they're like, here are all of our Black owned shops. And that was super awesome to see. And then I think on social media, like on Instagram and Facebook, so many people have just been posting like things about Black history. And I think people are definitely starting to learn more about what it means to sort of be a Black person. And they're getting to see a different side of the world that hasn't really been, I guess, like out more.
I agree with that. I think social media has played a big part in educating people of color as well as people that aren't of color just about the history of where Black people come from, what we've done, the struggles we've been through. And I think it's cool. I think that's one thing that social media has really like given us.
Along with like the representation of the fact that I just I love talking about Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. Like she's yes, completely proud. So it's like the representation that we finally have someone along with in office, and it's just like, wow, we're we're becoming known and big in a way.
Yeah, and with all this, amplification of it. Why do you guys think that we're seeing all this? We've never, I know I've never really seen half of this stuff happen before. I've never seen Target have a Black History Month section. And I know there's a lot of companies that are, doing a lot of more representation of it, I guess, like how you guys were saying. So why do you guys think that, this is happening just now and this isn't something that's been being so, publicized, I guess? Why hasn't Black history been on the main line?
Honestly, I don't think people were ready for colored people to be so broad like how we are now. Like, I don't want to say Black Lives Matter, like that whole movement wasn't bad. It wasn't. It was amazing, and it's nice to know that other people do care and that we matter. But also at the same time, it's like it's a little bit overwhelming in a way. Like it's like too much at the same time. I don't know if that really made sense, but it's just you don't want to have too much going on to where people feel like, oh, okay, so they're the only ones that matter and we don't.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I sort of get what you're saying, Trinity. I think over the summer, when the Black Lives Matter movement was really like what felt like at its peak, especially for I think probably our lifetime, things have been more vocal. We've seen a lot more things have been happening since I think since COVID started to really like let other people see like this is what it is. This is what it feels like to be a Black person living in America. So I think more businesses, more stores, more people just in general sort of seeing all of that, and maybe they're trying to profit off of it, but they're also doing their part to educate other people, and I think that's sort of important.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Takoria. Like I said, social media has played a big part in it. We've seen all the police brutality that's been going on. Like it's broadcasted now. So whereas before, people would see it and then they would go tell other people. Now it's like all over social media. As soon as something happens, somebody's posting it. So I think that now it's just more out there and people kind of have to accept it, like that it's going on because they're seeing it.
Yeah, I completely agree with, all of you, especially Trinity, what you were saying about Black Lives Matter. I think that that movement over the summer really, solidified Black people's place in America. I think, it was just a big, we're here and, we're here to stay. And, also to Korea, what you were saying about some businesses maybe profiting off of it. I don't know. Do you guys feel, is it not justified, but, take it with a grain of salt? Because, businesses may be profiting off of it, but, African American and Black history is getting exposure. So do you guys think, it kind of cancels out, or where do you guys stand on that?
That's a double-edged sword. Like it's I mean, it's great that businesses are profiting, especially like the mom and pop stores who don't really get that much attention. Like of course, that's amazing, but at the same time, you don't want a corporate like some sort of like a Nike shoe company. Like you don't want them to profit much more when they they already have constant sales and they're always selling shoes. So it's like that's great, but maybe not so much. So
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think you're kind of hinting at, big corporations, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, Walmart and Target. It's kind of weird to, see, because when I seen it, the Essence display that I was talking about earlier, it was in the middle of the aisle. It was just,
oh, in the middle.
yeah, it was a
Oh,
big box, and this is Black history, and then, cartoons of Black women on there, and it had the Shea Moisture, it had the
oh,
lotion, and then I was like, oh wow, we bought one because, it's
You
support,
have to.
but you got to think about, who am I supporting? Am I supporting the people, or am I supporting Walmart? Sometimes they try to get you, and at the bottom, and they put 10% of proceeds will go to them and that, and I just, I don't know, it's, I we love to see it, but then
you also don't want to see it in like the wrong way.
yeah, we don't want to see it go into the wrong hands. If you guys understand what I'm saying, that kind of makes sense to you
Yeah,
guys.
I think I get what you're saying, Keisha. But
Yeah.
also, like, I sort of want to bring up like why is it weird for us to be seeing like our representation in stores now? Like, I think it's something we're not used to, which definitely sucks, and it should have been happening a lot earlier. But also, it is good to be seeing representation in stores being more inclusive, whether they're smaller little mom and pop shops or big corporations. So you walk into a store, because bigger corporations, they can usually sell things for cheaper, so sometimes they have a bigger audience, so that's sort of could be their way of educating the masses, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, and I also agree. I think that that's the problem, that we have to be suspicious, about seeing ourselves in big stores. I think that's a big problem that we need to constantly work to change. And I think, Fancy as an organization is working towards that, making, just people of color more, how do I say this, more normalized, I guess, in a sense, if you guys kind of understand that. But branching off on what I was saying about Fancy, how do you guys think that Fancy as an organization and Detour is doing their part in celebrating Black history?
I think it was great, like learning about the different women back in like the olden days, knowing what they invented, or just knowing in general that colored people invented everyday used items like toilet paper or pads. Like that's really important. Maybe that's just really important to me, but it's really important to know that yes, like maybe it was the smallest stuff, but at the same time, it was the biggest stuff because it impacted our lives and the way we run our lives now.
Yeah, to go off of what Trinity was saying, I think Fancy, we're just trying to help educate and, put Black people on a platform to where we can be successful and we are educated. You know what I mean? So I think that it was cool that we sold the Love Black Girls shirts at the Soul Swap meet. I really enjoyed that. And a lot of people actually bought them and were interested in buying them, not just, sometimes you just buy stuff just because, oh, let me support. But they were like, oh, those are really cute. Like, it has a meaning behind it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think just Fancy as a whole is Black history. We're doing our part, giving back to our community. And, I think the most important thing is we're setting up the youth in our group for success, because we're the future. We are going to be the ones that, make or break our country. And I think that it's important for us as youth to continue on the tradition, in the light that we want to see ourselves. So, yeah, and I totally agree with what you were saying about selling the Love Black Girl shirt. And I know like there was a whole bunch of people that bought them. It wasn't just Black people that bought them, and I think that that was super cool that we were able to sell to a wider audience, and even that the Soul Swap meet is just a thing for everybody. It's for Black people, but we want to spread the message to everybody. So I think that that was super super cool. So, can anybody kind of speak on what you or your family or your friends or anybody, what are you guys doing to keep, the tradition of Black history alive?
Well, with my family, we weren't able to do it this year because of COVID, but in the previous years, we would wear like African attire to church on Sundays. And, just represent that way. We would pick a Sunday and everybody would just wear it and we would take cute little pictures. But just little things like that, just making people aware of, some of our heritage.
Ooh, yes. I remember there was one year where me and my mom, we actually did that. It
Mhm.
was really interesting because not a lot of people really liked it, especially with the fact that we don't necessarily look Black. So it was like a lot of people got mixed emotions because of it. But I think sometimes people fail to realize like you can be more than one race. So it was a little awkward, but at the same time, it's important to walk in your path and walk with that confidence because it's like people can judge all they want, but at the same time, if I'm not confident in it, then of course it's going to bring me down. But that was a really nice time. Like it was really impactful for me. And I think afterwards we went to go eat at there's this one spot close to the fancy office. It's a black soul or a black owned soul restaurant. I forgot what it's called though. But we went to go eat there. It was so good. It was
Yeah, and I love what you guys are saying about, wearing your African print because I love that. Like I'm also more than one race, and for my quince, I was planning on wearing, one of the big dresses and one of the African dresses, but of course for COVID, so I wasn't allowed. But I think that is so I just love the African print. It's so pretty. And I know like a majority of African Americans in particular, they don't know where they came from in Africa. So, just being able to just wear something, it's just so beautiful to me. It makes you feel more connected to who you are in a sense, or that's how I feel at least. So I think that your choice of fashion is a super good way to just keep things alive. And I think that it's something that you can do all throughout the year, not just Black History Month. So I try to wear my little dress every chance I get, but it's like super formal, and it's kind of weird to just wear it all the time. So yeah, but I love that. I super super love that. Do you guys see anything in particular happening in your community specifically pertaining to Black history?
I don't because I live near Lakeside, so there's
Yeah.
Oh, okay, definitely. So I live in Spring Valley, so more towards Lemon Grove area, I think. It's really weird. I hate saying Spring Valley because of the fact that nobody knows where it's at unless you live here. But let's just say Lemon Grove. And I know we have a Spring Valley market. It's called like the meat market or something like that. And I remember for Black History Month, we went to go get carne asada and pollo asada, which was really weird, but I'm not judging. But I remember when we went into the store, it was like a whole colored person type of day. So like we didn't see no white people there, and it was pretty interesting because it was like, whoa, like that's kind of weird. And then it was like, oh, it's a day, and it was incorporated because of the fact that we can't do nothing for our people. So it was like, let's do it here and let's make it known that we are Black owned. So it was interesting, but at the same time, I felt like it was a little weird, but I liked it.
I think it's super interesting that you live in an area where you can't experience, you know, some things that other people experience. So can you kind of like tell us about that? Like, how it is to
it's kind of been weird because I also grew up in, Spring Valley area, so where there are a lot more Black people. But being out here, it's been different. Like there's a lot of people who proudly wear their Trump, supporting gear into Walmart, or they have a stand outside. So it's kind of like, and there's not a lot of Black people, so they just kind of stare at you when you walk through the store, and you have to be super friendly, like, oh hi, like hi, oh excuse me, when you're trying to pass them and stuff like that. So I think that has definitely been a different, or a change of scenery, being over here. And I don't know, it's just I miss being in the midst of Black people who were nice about things and caring, and stuff like that.
yeah, crazy. Trinity?
So in my community, um, I live more in a suburban area, so we are very calm here. So not a lot of people really talk to each other, so we're not really buddy buddy with our neighbors. But when you go outside, like actually into our community, it's very predominantly African American, which is really surprising. And it's nice to see as well. And to see some Black owned restaurants or supermarkets or anything, it's just nice to see that. And it's nice to see that we're able to pick each other back up and support each other. So it's really nice to see that in my community. And I hope that a lot of people are able to see that as well. But I know for a fact that communities are really out there with that stuff, or especially towards people who don't really feel like it's necessary. So it is a really hard topic. And I know a lot of people aren't just really cool with it.
Yeah, I also wanted to say that like it's even weird leaving the house with my Black Girls Rock shirt, or something that represents me. I can't even go to the store because people are going to look at me weird and look at me different. I think confidence has a lot to do with it though. Like if you're confident in yourself and you know who you are, it's easier to not care what people think. So I've recently been wearing my shirts and not even caring like if I'm gonna get those looks or those stares, because this is me, and if you can't accept it, then sorry to you.
Ooh, I'll definitely
Yeah.
love to speak on that because I know, is it kind of hard to walk out with like your braids, or like if you have your hair a different way like than the norm should be? Is it hard?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, it's the same Walmart, I swear to you guys. But they'll be like, oh my God, your hair is just so beautiful. And like one lady actually kind of reached to touch it, and I was like, no, this is what we're not gonna do. But it's always been like that. Like, whether you have your natural hair, whether you have braids, whether you have a flat iron, like, it doesn't matter what you have, somebody's always gonna be like, oh, how'd you get your hair like that? Or like, and it's just kind of like, what?
Yeah, I think sometimes, it's just a culture shock.
Yeah.
It
It
just
really is.
in different areas, especially of, just different areas of San Diego. I think it's kind of, I think it also has a lot to do with code switching sometimes. You gotta gauge where you're at. So, for the safety of you and your family for most of the time. But yeah, I am so, so glad that we were able to have this conversation. I appreciate my gorgeously insightful guests for being here with me on this Monday. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
Ah!
Bye.